And hello guys, you are looking down on our project right now so you can get a really good view, okay? So here's what I've got. We've got just a plain piece of wood that I found in my stash. You can see it was stained at one time. One of my tricks when I'm working on a piece of wooden furniture that's really old and like this has just really hungry and thirsty is I'll actually use my brown glaze to give it some life again, okay, before I even start the paint process. So we're gonna go ahead, we're just gonna revive it a little bit. We're gonna use our brown antiquing glaze because I am gonna allow some of the wood to peek through our finish. This is our vintage white that I'm using. You can put as much coverage as you want. If you want to go ahead and have some peekaboos, you can leave that. Like I love how there's some of those spots coming through like that. Now when you get down here, right about where your fade is going to happen, here's where you're going to want to pick up some more paint on your brush, but you're actually going to turn it on the side, okay? And that's how you're going to start to getting those like peaks. You know, you can bring it down a little bit further, can bring it back, and you're going to start to like give it more of a ragged edge, okay? Just like that. You can also do a little bit from the bottom too if you want. Make it look, remember, like, again, turn your brush on the edge, but think about if this was a fade, you know, it would not only be here, but there might be just a little bit of white down at the base as well. So now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna dip my brush in a little bit of water as well. I'm gonna dip it into my Teal River. And now same thing, instead of going wide with the brush, I'm gonna turn my brush on the side, okay? And now what I wanna do is just go ahead, back and forth. Just back and forth on the edge. I can go as far up into the white as I want, but remember, because this white is still wet right here, when it connects with it, it's going to start to even give you a lighter form. Like, even though your paint is Teal River, you know, the more you blend it in to that white paint, you'll even end up with more of like an aqua color, right? It just starts to really lighten up. So you can go as far down as you want. Okay, if I want to kind of like give myself a little bit more of those peaks. Again, the trick is having your brush this versus this, pulling it up, pulling it down, going as far down as you want into the piece. All right, so right about right there, right? We could also bring it up on this side up here as well, as far up as we want. This is where you have control over it. So again, picture this as being the side of your dresser. How cool is it though to go across the front of your dresser as well? You could do some really cool looks with that. And again, bring it down as far as you want or as far up as you want. Adding a little bit down here. You can also add a little bit more of that white into the top just to make this fade a little bit more soft. Okay, so we've dried our piece right now. Go ahead and grab a medium grit sand block. And now what I'm gonna do is distress it a little bit, okay? And start to make it look a little bit more warm, because when you've got fades going down and you've got this distressing and you're showing part of the dresser even before just as it was with a little bit of that worn look coming through, you don't want it to make it look off balance, right? We wanna bring the overall look together. So by taking my sand block, and what I like to do is go in the actual same direction that I went ahead and painted with. Let's soften that up a little bit. Now what we're going to do is just take our sand block and sand some of this brown that we see down here, okay? All right, we can sand it all the way up. If you turn your sand block on the side, you're going to start to see some just really nice marks, because remember the antiquing glaze and a little bit of that stain that we already put on this piece, the wood underneath it is lighter. So now we're even able to make some great looks just by sanding down that antiquing glaze on this piece of wood to get those fade marks. And remember, if this was the side of the dresser, I'm going to want to go all around the edges as well. We can come up as far as we want with some of those marks. Turn your block on the side. Really weave it up into it. We can change how we want this fade to look. Just to kind of bring a little bit of them up through. There we go. And that way it doesn't seem so top heavy as well, right? So the nice thing when you do that sand as well, it really polishes your piece, right? So if you've got any little hairs, stray hairs that fell off your brush, if a fly decides to land in it, if you've got any sort of particles or imperfection, it's just a great way to also polish your piece. So this feels nice and smooth right now, and it is ready for us to finish up. So I'm gonna go ahead and seal this piece with our Monkey Shine. It's a clear wax finishing polish. It is all natural, non-toxic, and it is so yummy. It works awesome on finished or a finished piece, right? Meaning that we painted this part, we really didn't paint the bottom part. We added a little bit of our glaze to it. So now if you watch what happens, it just really gives that yumminess, right? It re-energizes your paint. And the reason why we do the circular motion is so that we're getting all the different, basically, we're getting all the different paint pours from all the different angles, and it's really pushing in the wax, right? It's basically filling up all those wood pores, and it's sealing it off. So that means nothing's gonna be able to get back down into those wood pores. Can't wait to do the bottom down here because I know how yummy this is gonna look. You guys can see it, right? Look how nice that looks. This is a plain, boring piece of wood, but if this was a beautiful dresser that had some ornate trim or molding across the bottom, whatever you want to call it, it just is so yummy because this is just one plain plank. But to be able to do this look on a dresser that has some really cool carvings, has beautiful hardware, it just comes together so nice. All right, so now what we do is we finish off the buff. We made sure we got the coverage all over with our Monkey Shine. You can get that up in our store as well. But basically, once you lay your wax down, we've pushed it into the pores, but there's still some that sits on the top of your piece. So this is the stage you do where you flip, you know, think about, I always say the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. So we've waxed it on, now we're waxing off any extra seed that's on the top. So we're buffing our piece. And if you've done a good job and you keep turning your cloth over to ensure that you're getting any residue that's off the top, then you're just left with nothing but a piece that feels beautiful, soft, buttery, and is completely sealed as well. So there you go. How cool was that?